That's a good idea. That's real cheese. They buy them in every house, so they call. Pennsylvania.
I know.
Pennsylvania. No, I'm with my granddaughter. Oh.
I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for coming. My name is Sarah and I'm the Adult Services Librarian here in Ireland. We were lucky enough to get a grant hosted by PLA, which is the Public Library Association, and AT&T, to do a series of technology-based classes. So we are doing a cybersecurity class today. I'm doing the exact same one tomorrow. And then at the very first weekend of January, we'll be doing 2 more classes. One is focused on Android basics for like mobile devices, phone or tablet, and the other one will be for Apple devices. So if you so choose, you can come to those as well. You'll get some more goodies and some more prizes. So, all right. Before we get started, just little things to note. If you're not from McFarland, our bathrooms are right around the corner. At any time, feel free to use. We have in the back nook some coffee and tea available. Again, at any time, you can get up and go back there and get some. And you can always go back and get some more treats as well. You all have Post-its on your table. And those are if you have any questions that pop up, feel free to write it on the Post-it. There will be some times throughout the session that you can ask them at that point, or you can just give them to me at the end. It's really up to you. One caveat, I am not an expert. I am learning along just with you. In fact, a lot of times patrons come in with their technology questions, and I'm the person that's trying to help them out and learn as we go. So I will do my best to help you, but I have people in my life that I rely on for anything tech related, and I recommend you find somebody in your life as well. Because as we know, technology changes, so there will always be something new coming around the corner. But you are welcome to contact with me with any questions outside of this, and I'd be more than happy to at least attempt and learn along with you. So, all right, a couple things in your folder. So I've got copies of everything you're going to need. There are sheets of the PowerPoint that looks like this, and I have the lines on the side in case you are a note taker and want to take notes along with. There is something called the learner activity sheet. So there will be 3 activities throughout the hour that we will be doing, and you will be using this sheet for that. There is also a basic learner handout for you to take home that kind of summarizes everything that we do today. If you are one of those who likes to put important things on your refrigerator, feel free to do that with this. If you, for some reason, are taking this class for hours for work of some nature, there is a certificate of completion to say that, yes, you have done this class. No worries if you don't want to. And then finally, there is a survey. The first 7 questions are related to the people who are funding this grant. They asked us, hey, can you please get some feedback? And the last one is for me. I would just like to know, in a perfect world where room was never an issue, what days work best for you for adult programming? Because we're always looking to see when can we get the biggest draw of people coming in. So those are the things that you will be using today. You also have a notebook, a couple bookmarks, a flash drive, and a sticker within your, and a pen. And the pen also is a stylus. So if you look at where you click it, you can use that on a smartphone or a tablet. And those are yours to take home. So, all right, are there any questions before we get started? Okay, here we go. All right, so today's agenda, we're going to be learning about cybersecurity. So trying to keep yourself and your accounts safe online. We will be including some skill building activities. So we're going to recognize what a secure website is compared to an unsecure. making passwords strong and memorable, and recognizing and avoiding online scams. We're also going to cover some tips and tricks about strong passwords and avoiding scams, and you'll have time to practice these. I'm gonna just say this right now. When we practice passwords, please don't use these actual passwords when you go back home, because we're gonna be sharing them, and that's probably step number one. Don't share those passwords. So just gotta get you started. All right, so here we go. Why do we need to be concerned about safety when we're online? Just let you ruminate about that a little bit. Maybe you already know, unfortunately, because of things that have happened to you or someone that you know. But anytime you do anything online, you have the option of possibly sharing information. If you bank online, if you are going to Amazon and buying some presents, if you have a Netflix account, all of those have your information because they will be billing you at some point. And so it's very important that you are keeping that information safe in the most best possible manner. Could be credit cards, banks, personal health information, especially you have my chart. I know that's another thing. So those are some reasons why we need to be concerned about safety, because unfortunately, we are all involved with it. It's part of our lives from here on out. And unfortunately, there are people, we could call them bad actors. They're doing bad things online just like they do offline. So we need to make sure that we're trying to do our best in the online world as in the real world to make sure that we are keeping as much stuff safe as possible. When it comes to online stuff with fraudsters, they're trying to guess your passwords or maybe trying to gain your trust to give you some information. So we need to make sure we have some knowledge so that it does not happen. All right, so what is cybersecurity? It's all about the safety of our information, our identity, our personal data, and our financial assets when we're online. So for you and me, cybersecurity is your personal data that's not just accessible to you or others you authorize, or should I apologize, that is only accessible to you. And it's also any of your devices, whether it be your phone or a tablet or a laptop or a personal computer, anything of that nature. And all of these have the potential to be interrupted by something called malware. So malware is two words put together, malicious software. Okay? And it can take many shapes. It can be viruses that infect your favorite devices, to spyware or adware that track your activities. All right, so we're going to start off talking about some secure websites. Why does a website need to be secure? Anyone want to throw something out there? Yeah.
Okay. Well, you want to be secure so that somebody doesn't get your private information.
Right, all right. And there are ways for us to know whether the website we're going to is secure or not. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Because if you're not going to a secure website, you do not want to be putting in your information. Because that will make things very difficult for you. So if you're going to enter personal information, we want to keep it safe. So what you're going to do is you're going to look for two things on your website, whatever website you visit. The first one is the little padlock. All right, a padlock icon next to the address bar. And in this case, it's green and it's closed, it's locked. The second thing is that your address begins with HTTPS. Now, I don't know if this is what the S really stands for, but I like to say that it stands for secure with the rest of the stuff. So if that does not have an S, that is an indication that that website is not secure. And whatever you're doing from here on out, you're going to want to be cautious as if you're trying to be putting in information. Oops, sorry. I just So that's kind of a bigger version of it, so you can see. So if you have the padlock and you have the HTTPS, you're in good hands. It is a secure website. Any banking that you do, they should automatically have this. They would not even be trying to do it any other way. Any place where you'll be putting in a credit card information or billing information should have that on the website. Yes,
And that lock can be any color, you just are using green?
I believe it's supposed to be green. It might not. We'll take a look at a couple and see if that's the case.
So,
Yes,
so fraudsters can't put in a lock like that and that, they can't.
not that I'm aware of, no, unless you're talking like high-end hacking, which in that case, they're probably going over government entities for larger pools of data and not just solely yours. If that makes sense. Yeah, they like to, I mean, when you think about the people out there who are unfortunately doing bad things, they want to do the thing that's the biggest bang for their buck. So it'd be silly for them to try to be, oh, I recognize this person's name, I'm just going to try to get into all their accounts. For them, they want to find somewhere that's housing lots of information. So I should, for the most part, be safe. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be, leery of bad people, but you should take comfort in seeing that. Let's put it that way. Okay. So if it is not secure, you might see the exclamation point, or the padlock could potentially just be unlocked, so you can't see it as a locked one, and there will be no S on the HTTP. And sometimes your computer, if you would type something in, your computer might already have some software on it, maybe some antivirus stuff that you've downloaded that will be like, hey, we don't want you accessing this page. So there are already programs in place to kind of help you out with that as well. And I'll show that a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so there's no S and there is no padlock. All right. What kinds of accounts have you created online? Anyone want to share some different ones? Yeah.
I have like Amazon, different shopping.
Yeah. How many of you have used
Banking.
Amazon? How many of you do banking online? How many of you have some sort of streaming service online? Okay, so there's so many out there. It's sad, like when you can look at all the different websites where you've saved your passwords, and I have done that, and I think, oh, there are so many places now that you have to do that. I had a patron come in a couple months ago. She's like, I always like to volunteer at the school where I used to teach. And for the very first time, they are making me do this online. I can't just show up at the school and do it. So we had to walk through creating an email address, first of all, and then walking through the process of going through this very specific website so that she could go and volunteer at a school, which I was very much against to begin with, but she had to learn to adapt to a new way of doing things. All right, so you might be, like we said, creating something on Amazon, following some banking, creating an email account that is putting out your information. If you're on any sort of social media, be it Facebook or Instagram or Twitter/X, any sort of media or news platforms that you subscribe to or pay for, video streaming sites, retail sites, all of them have accounts. All right. And you want to make sure, like I said before, that only that information is available to you. All right. So, let's see. We are going to, in just a second, do our first activity. But are there any questions before we do that? Yes.
Well, I've seen like the lock almost like invisible kind of
Mhm.
sometimes. Is that legit too?
We will talk a little bit about that too. I'll show you here. So I'm going to escape out of this so that we can see some websites. So I'm going to kind of show you what you mean by that. So sometimes, I'll just show you the libraries one. You notice it's not green, right? But it is definitely locked. And you also have the HTTPS right there. Sometimes when you type in a website, anyone want to give me one off the top of their head? I know there's Yahoo. Okay. So sometimes when you type, it actually hides the HTTPS part. So you should click on here to see if it will open it up, and it should. Just trying to think of, let's see. I need another one. Coles. Okay, HTTPS. Did you notice though? I don't know if you saw this. Coles. Oh, it didn't show. So the first time when I typed it in, it showed HTTP as one of the choices.
Really?
Yes. Oh, right here. So if you look over here, over here, it just says http.com.
Sarah?
Yes.
So you added it and asked to get it or not?
Good question. I don't, I've tried that before. I'm in school, graduate school right now, and there's been a couple times where it'll send me to certain documents that I have to look at. And I've tried to put an S in, and sometimes it will let me, and sometimes it's like, I don't know what you're trying to do right now. Please get out of it. So,
It's not like anybody can just add it.
correct. So I've got a couple others up here. This is Digital Learn. This is the platform that all of today's stuff is from. And you are able to go here, and all of it is free for you. I'm under the tools and resources part, but there are lessons like you wouldn't believe about using a Mac, using a computer, like using a mouse for the first time, accounts and passwords, internet privacy, creating resumes. All of this is available to you for free. Okay. And I'm going to tell you the website, and I want you to write it down the correct way. It is digitallearn.org. It's very important that you write ORG instead of .com. And
Does it have to be capitalized?
it does not have to be
So I
capitalized.
not sensitive. Okay.
All lowercase, digitallearn.org. The big thing is just remember there's two L's, the one for digital and the one for learn. And I'm going to show you why it's important to have that ORG. Because the PowerPoint showed me another website that we could borrow. So let's digitallearn.com.
.org.
So on this computer, this is what pops up, right? On my computer at my desk, when I typed this in, all of the sudden our security system said, hey, you can't go to this website. It's insecure. We're kicking you out. So that's another reason why it's important to know the end of your website. So this should not pop up if you're going to a legit website, right? I mean, if I wanted to do digital learn and get the lessons, there should be nothing on here about me having to check something. So that's kind of a flag.
So don't do that.
Don't do that. Yes, that's kind of a big one. So, and if you look, it even took me to a different website, right? It now says it said get the safesearch.com or something. So it was making something up. All right, so here we go. You have your first activity, and it should be the learner sheet. Let's see. That's, yeah, you use the get shut and actually shut. I just need to get to the right page here. All right. I just need to go to the next slide in order. Okay, activity 1. Here we go. I would like you to, I'm going to put in a website, and I want you to tell me, is it secure or not secure? So you're just going to check yes or no. And then you're gonna tell me why that website is secure. I'm blanking on any website that I could possibly think of right now.
Lion Energy.
So Pinterest.com. I make this larger, will it make the bar larger? Nope. So up here, how can you tell whether or not this is a secure website?
Yes, because the lock is locked, so
Write
and
that
then
down.
PTT and the S is there.
Yep, write that down. So how do you know? So yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Feel free to write that website down too, so you're not, so when you're looking back at your notes, you're like, I have no idea what that website was that was secure. All right, what are the 2 reasons why we know this is secure?
The lock and the S at the end of the.
Yep, the lock and the S at the end. I like the fact that it's really just 2 things that you have to remember. There's not much else involved with knowing whether that website's secure. Yes?
I've already ordered things from sites that have the lock, have the S, and then later, like today.
Can you speak a little louder?
Yeah, I've already ordered stuff from sites that have the lock, have the S, and then later I'll get a text. Or I think it's mainly a text that will say, please resubmit, like I ordered a caricature for my son. And it will say, please resubmit your picture. Or it will say, please resubmit your address because we have your item at the post office, but we don't know where to send it.
So we're gonna talk about something, those are called phishing texts and phishing emails. And it might just happen to be that it's coming at the same time you're getting the packets. However, it could be the company that you ordered it from sold your information to other people. And those other people are then sending out phishing things. And we'll talk about phishing stuff as well. I will say, don't respond, don't open the emails, because that's what they want you to do. So, yeah, there are bad people in this world, unfortunately.
Too many.
Very true. All right,
So even a locked company can forward things?
any company can, have you heard of Facebook? I mean, their website's secure, but they make the decision to sell your information to other companies. Yeah, it might be your address, it might be your gender, it might be where you live. So then, other companies that live around you can use that data to send you ads of, I think you really want this. Because you happen to look at a picture of it on Facebook on Tuesday, that sort of thing, yeah.
So shouldn't it be illegal?
Yeah, I think so, yes. And I happen to know there are certain countries that are starting to make rules to kind of limit that. I don't know, notice there's some lawsuits going on right now with Facebook and in Europe. And that's because Europe just had a huge plan that they have put in place where you are not allowed, companies are not allowed to sell
That's
that
why
data.
if you're looking up and all of a sudden you want to buy some cowboy boots. 2 days later, add some cowboy boots.
Yep, that means that company said, hey, so-and-so really likes cowboy boots. Let's give them all the ads on other
What you have
platforms.
to
Yeah.
understand is whenever you sign on to a new website, you read through the agreement, it either gives you you agree or don't agree. If you read all of that, it tells you all about how they're gonna do this.
Yeah.
So you have no choice other than to agree if you want that website.
So
You're pretty much allowing it, you're pretty much giving yourself the permission to do
Whatever they want.
And places like in Europe now, they're saying you have to give people the option to opt in rather than opt out. So it should automatically be, you're not getting your data collected unless you want it to. And if you've even noticed regular websites that you use, now you get that pop-up that says, accept the cookies, almost every single time.
Yes.
I always reject every unnecessary cookie because all of that, again, they're trying to find some things to track. What are you looking at?
Sarah?
Yeah.
going back a little bit, if you see a website or, you get a message or something like that, even if you click it, just to see, like they'll put part of something and then you click it and they have you.
Yeah, don't click it.
Don't click.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay.
We get to that part too. So, all right, back to the common points. Okay. Okay, we just do that. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is strong passwords. So when we create personal accounts on websites, it's important to make sure that your passwords are as strong as possible. And I know it sounds silly to say that, but there are still so many people that use the word password for their password. Please don't do that. I mean, that's probably one of the first things that a fraud person would be trying to guess when they're putting it. The other one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yes, please don't use the word password. So we're going to talk about making a strong password. A password that is strong is one that's hard to guess. Not for you, but for anybody else. Okay. So how do we come up with passwords? And how do we make them strong and secure? So it's important to be strength-based and not anything else. Anyone want to make a guess as to maybe how you would come up with a password, or maybe how you have come up with passwords so far?
I started usually with a capital uppercase, and then I'll go lowercase, and then instead of an L, I'll use the number 1. Or the E is a 3, and I always put either a pound or an exclamation mark somewhere in there. So it's not just a random guess, I really have to search deep.
Yep, and I would say you could even do that with the letter A, do the at
Yes.
symbol instead, okay? So doing a little substitution where it'll still read for you that you understand what it's saying. Any other thoughts as to what you could do? Yeah.
I would use Bible, a certain book, and then you have number, chapter so-and-so and verse so-and-so. If that's what that you remember, but you do need to remember.
You do. I would also maybe try to split up the chapter and the verse, like maybe put one of them before the name of the Bible book and then one of the numbers after, or even one in the middle of the word, just to make it a little bit more difficult. Yeah.
I like to use one of my favorite songs, and since I'm old, it's oldie but moldy. And then if I'm feeling really good, I can dance. And then put in my password.
All right. I like that you have a dance to help you remember the password because that's important too. Yes.
I think it helps if you have more digits than less digits. Now, one website or whoever said I had to have at least 8 characters.
Yes.
Is that how it is?
Yes, and we're going to talk about that. So sometimes it's out of your control, right? The website will say, you know what? You need at least 8 characters. One of those characters has to be uppercase, one has to be lowercase, one has to be a number, all right? So in those cases, we obviously need to follow the directions of that website. And typically they'll be listed below. Sometimes when you're creating one, you'll start one, but it won't tell you what you need to do, and then it'll say, oh, this password doesn't work, and then it'll tell you, well, you forgot this and this and this. Yes,
What about using a password manager?
we're gonna talk about that, and those are great. So, yeah. All right. So they usually include numbers, upper and lowercase letters, and some sort of symbols, okay? I would say most websites that I, visit these days, these are kind of the directions that they tell me that I have to use. All right. So here are some tips, some do's and don'ts. And these again will be listed on your basic handout. So if you need to refer back to it, you can. All right. So first, don't use common words like password or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or ASDFGHJKL. Anything that, seems kind of simple to be able to guess. Try not to use those. Don't include personal information. So I know a lot of us might be thinking, oh, but I remember the name of the street that I grew up on or the street that I grew up on now. But think about this, if you're using that as a password and they guess it, not only do they have your password, they now know what street you are on and they could do some more digging and find other stuff out. So it's always best to not include that personal information.
But isn't it easy too, because it says, did you forget your password, and then just reassign it? Can't they do that? I mean,
Yes, but it also depends on those specific, are you saying like someone, a bad person could be like, hey, they forgot their,
to go into it and change it, they don't have to know it.
but don't you have to have the name of the email address to do that?
Well, you can
Right.
have the email address and then hit it and somebody,
Right.
that somebody knows who you are or
Right.
whatever, and then they hit forgot my password.
True, which also could speak to not having your computer automatically put your email address in something. You know, like sometimes when I click on something here at work, it'll automatically put fill in my email address. But you should be able to change your settings so that doesn't happen.
How would you change a setting? This was years ago, capital M, and then I put gmail.com. And just having that M there, a couple years later, I can't get rid of that because it'll come to me then.
Are you saying that it automatically is filling that as capital M on your website or on your?
No, it's M.
Okay.
That was just an M. It's a
Okay.
capital M at gmail.com, okay? And then when, that was years ago, I completely forgot about it.
Okay,
And then I put another one that had a little bit more on it. And I can't delete that first one.
you bring your device to me on another day. and we'll take care of that.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that we can also move on and that, might take a little bit more time.
Yeah, I just,
So we can write that down so you have it for later. I am guilty of this. Don't use the same password for multiple accounts and sites. I get it. It's easier to remember when you're using the same password for things, but try not to. So this is one of those do as I say, not as I do.
So can you use not actually, it's the same words, but they're done like some are caps, some are not.
Sure.
But it's the same, okay, but it's different.
Because everything is very, it's case sensitive when it comes to your
Okay.
passwords, yeah. And don't share your passwords with others, please keep them private. And again, I'm guilty of this, if you share video streaming services with other people because they're just so stinking expensive and you can't afford them all on your own, and you're doing that, keep in mind, you are putting yourself in the possibility of being compromised, so, yes.
Well, where does the username fit into all this?
So that's usually the first thing that would be
Yeah,
put in.
is that something that's dangerous too?
It shouldn't be. I'll just mention I have some software on my computer that, makes sure that it's antivirus, whatever. But you can put in old email addresses to see if they've ever been compromised within the service that I have. And I have one, but it's because I had a really insecure password way back in the day. And since then, I have changed it and it's no longer having the same issue that it did before. So your email address should never get compromised unless the password got compromised at some point. All right, so what should you do? We just talked about the don'ts. Make the password longer. And I'm not saying ridiculously long or hard to memorize, and we'll talk about one of those things in just a second. All right, so, doing something that has a complete mixture of stuff like this, that's not, you can't remember that. It's beyond, unless you have a photographic memory, kudos to you, because then you can come up with as many passwords as you want. But that would be very difficult to do. So one of the things, and I just learned this when I took a security class, use short phrases as your passwords. They're easier to remember. And they're actually can be more difficult for a bad actor to figure out than something like this, because this, you just kind of put in an algorithm into your system to try to figure it out. Eventually, it'll kick it out. But, and by eventually, it could still be a long time. The fact is you have things in a specific order here, it will make it more rememberable for you and more difficult for the bad actor. So this example, please, again, don't use this as your next password. Cows help make cheese. 4 simple words.
Or you could do it backwards.
You could mix it up. You know, I have a couple where I've got a color, like my favorite color, and I've got like your favorite season, and maybe a flower and something else. And so I know what those 4 things are. I have them in a specific order. Might throw a number in there somewhere, but it's something that's easy for me to
So
remember.
that's just on one, so you might have more than one in their house.
Yes. All right, so how do we remember all these?
I've got a question. What happens if we have like 4 pages of different things that we have passwords?
Yes.
How can you come up with a password for all those?
So I think one of the things that I'm about to show
It
you,
shows how you remember passwords.
one of these things is
We
gonna
have to print it out.
be helpful for you. So we're gonna talk about 3 different ways to remember passwords. The first one, not the most secure, but it is having a notebook, okay? I do have a notebook where I've written down my passwords. I'm the only person that knows where that notebook is. It's a special place on a special page within the notebook that nobody else knows. And it's in a safe spot in my place. It's okay for you to do that as well, just as long as you're not sharing that with everybody. Okay? The second one is called a password software. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And that would be very beneficial for you because then the software saves all the passwords. You just have to remember one password to get into it, and then all of them will be there. And then thinking of phrases. So we're going to talk a little bit about these. Okay? So for your notebook, you got to store it in a safe and secure place. Probably the same place and secure place that you have other important documents or things within your house. That does not mean putting it on a Post-it and sticking it on your computer. And it happens, it really does. Or I've known people who will do it on a Post-it and then put that underneath their Wi-Fi router. Still a place that somebody could look for the password, so secure place, okay? For those of you who have good memories, I'll get you in a second, you could, instead of writing down the password, write something down that helps you remember what the password is. I could never do this. Would not be helpful for me whatsoever, but for those who can, kudos to you, I suggest it. Yes?
I'm assuming it's not a good idea to put it in the notes section on your phone.
Probably not. And I used to do that too, before I took my security class, and I was like, I gotta get rid of this. All right, so password software. You can choose a secure password management app or website that helps keep track of your passwords. These programs are usually unlocked with a single master password. So again, you just have to know one. And then allows you to access all your passwords when you need them. You can put your own passwords in there, but it can also generate the passwords for you that includes all the rules of the website so that you don't have to worry about it and it remembers it. We have one here at work called 1Password that we pay for. And it's so nice to not have to remember every single password in the world. There are some other ones that are actually free online, so I would recommend just looking out there, doing the research, what are the pros and cons. Some of them, depending upon which one, can be really super expensive. If you have a lot of websites and a lot of important data, that might be something to look into, but the cheaper one should suffice as well. Yes.
What if you do that and it's not a secure password place?
So that's why you need to do the research ahead of time. I know 1Password is. There's something like NordVPN also has now a password software. Can't think of what the name is right now. But even before this class, I just Googled like best password software 2023. And then when you look at the tech websites that are doing these, reviews, that's where I look. And then it'll tell you these are the pros, these are the cons. And if you go to reputable websites instead of Bob's, Bob's electronics.com, you should be okay. Yes.
Google has started suggesting passwords for me and saving the passwords. I will say that I have been using it. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't
It might
heard
not be a
anything.
good idea, but I don't.
I know, and I believe that
Could you repeat
Apple. She said when she's in Google, it'll start saying, hey, do you want me to save this password for you? Or you could have it create one. I've done the same thing. Firefox does the same thing. I believe Safari does the same thing. I don't know how safe they are. I know I'm still at a point in my life where I use them. But I completely understand. But I will say with Google, I have multi-factor authentication on my phone. So in order for Google to even be open, I get a little pop-up that says, hey, are you trying to get in? So then I know if it's not me, I'm pressing no, so.
Does Google have, or do you have it for everything? Like, could I just get Google password that you have, or whatever?
That multi-factor
Yeah,
thing.
right.
I believe anytime you create a Google email account in your settings, you can say, I want this to send an alert to the phone, or I want it to send me a text, that sort of thing. So I have it where it just pops it up. Hey, are you trying to access?
Is that you?
Yeah, exactly. Is that you?
The other thing I worry about is hacking. You can be as safe as you want, but then like American Family just got hacked. I
Exactly.
mean, these big companies like get hacked, so even password software, they could get hacked.
And that's, we can only do so much. And so we're gonna show you some easy tips and tricks, but if there's somebody out there who's meaner than, the meanest person, there's a chance they've got a goal in mind. The thing that we also though as like society is we need to make sure that those companies are being transparent when that happens. I was in that same security class and we were talking about data breaches with schools. And there was a very large curriculum company that had a data breach and it took them 6 months to say anything, and they didn't say anything until a news media figured it out themselves and said, hey, in those 6 months, that data was being given out and you could have tried to cut it off sooner. So yeah, we also have to put a little onus on those companies too to be transparent and not, try to shove it under the rug. And then like we said before, passphrases, cows help make cheese. I don't know if they did this one because we're in Wisconsin or what, but I'm a fan of this one. All right, so activity 2.
Wait a second, I'm missing one. Notebook is one thing, and password software, what was the third one?
And then try to use phrases if at all possible. Yep. All right, so you are going to practice making some passwords. And you can do this by yourself, you can do it with the person sitting next to you. There is a criteria written right here. Based on that criteria, I want you to come up with a strong password. We're going to share these out, so please don't actually make this password that you would use. And once you've done that one, you can turn the page and start on the second activity that deals with passwords. And the next page, it gives you some passwords, but it wants you to tweak them to make them more secure. And there's multiple ways to do this. You do not have to do it the same way as your neighbor. And keep in mind when you're, practicing making those passwords more secure, you still want them to be some semblance of what it used to be or at somewhat memorable. Just randomly placing, uppercase, lowercase numbers probably isn't all that helpful in that situation. All right, give you about another minute to finish that up based on I'm still working. And it's okay if you don't finish, I'm not grading these. That's really. All right, anyone want to share based on that first activity, a strong password they came up with that includes 8 characters, 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, and 1 number?
I have Rain Man because it was the name of my cat, and it's capital R, capital A, the number 1, capital N, lowercase M-A-N, exclamation mark.
Nice. Any other examples that anyone wants to share? Yeah.
I have O, small g, little star, V, capital V, number 1, hashtag C.
All right. Any others?
Sometimes I relate my passwords to the thing that I'm working on, and I can learn cyber with a capital C, cyber 1.
I will say it's kind of a good trick to capitalize a random letter in the middle of it, rather than always capitalizing the first or always capitalizing the last. So doing the C in the middle, that's a good one.
Can you use like instead of for Joe, J-O-E, J, the number O,
Yeah.
0
0, yeah.
instead of
Yes, you
the
can.
letter O.
Yes, you can. Yeah. All right, how about happy birthday? How can we make that better? Yeah.
I did all capitals on birthday first, and then a pound, 101, and then happy as all lowercase.
I used my birth year is 41, so I said 4. Birth is all in caps, happy is in lowercase, and 1 at the end.
All right, I like it.
I use a capital T and then small I-M-E and then a 1 for I. And then W-A-S and then capital B-O-R-N.
I was born, I like that. All right, how about Joseph Smith?
Capital J-O-E and then a backslash, and Smith in lowercase is number 101.
Any others? Okay. All right, so we talked about that. How about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 0 password? Yikes. I mean, honestly, I would just throw that one out and start fresh. Because it's just, same with password 1. I actually, funny story about that. Not password, because again, never use password, but at one of my previous jobs, the email system every, I want to say 3 months, it made you start something else. So I had a coworker, she just changed the last number every time. So it was the first 1 and then 2, and so then she also knew how long she'd been there based on the number that she had had.
Yeah, I had a job that did that too, and I put like January and the word, and then February and the word, so that each month I knew what month I was doing.
Yeah. What do you do about the ones that say if you forgot your password and you try and make it similar, but it says you can't use it because you've used it prior?
That's a great question that I really don't have a full answer for. Is it like when you're putting it in, you're kind of trying to guess what it is?
No.
Or you're wanting to do a new one? I
New
see.
one, and I
And
want
it's
it
too
the same,
similar.
but similar, but not actually the same. It says you can't use it because it's been used prior.
Yeah, I've had a few of those.
I tried, but I can't see that.
Do it backwards, and then you're really just gonna have to come up with something brand new, unfortunately, and depending upon your place of
I
employment.
don't have a management of my passwords, but I have a little ring that I keep a little card thing on. And so I try and keep them similar so I remember them.
Yep.
And then I keep it in my underwear drawer because I know nobody's gonna look in there.
So maybe have a few empty, pieces of paper on the key, so then when you get to that specific email that's constantly making you choose a new password, you can eventually just rip the old one off and keep your new passwords there. Or get a new email account that does not make you change it all that often.
That's another thing. I have one account and I never use my Gmail. I have no clue even what's on it. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, you could try to figure, I'm sure there are millions of email accounts in the ether that never get touched because so many people have forgotten what the passwords are. I have some family members that has
maybe we should
happened.
use that as a password.
A couple other ideas just for happy birthday, Joseph Smith, changing some of the letters to symbols. So instead of an A, the @ sign, dollar signs for things, or using a 0 instead of, other letters. For Joseph Smith, you can also change it to Joe. Add some numbers, exclamation points in there. I will say, I have an example here that they put. For the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, they say to do 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Because you're doing 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 3, 4, or something. I was like, that's clever. And then for password 1, the example they gave was keep my password safe. Still don't know how safe that is, because you still have the word password in there, but.
Here's another thing is when you do a password, you can use, instead of like A, use the number 1.
Yep.
Put a Z in there because they don't use that very often.
All right.
On that, prior one.
Yep.
It says password should be at least 12 characters long with no other character requirements. You can't do that.
Well, you might have a service that makes you want to do that.
Oh,
So it's just
okay.
saying, hey, if these were the requirements, what would you do? So that's why they said 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 3, 4, because then you're gonna have 12 characters long,
Yeah.
and they're all letters, so.
Okay, I was just curious.
All right, so after talking about passwords, we're talking about our third thing today, and that is online fraud and scams. So first we're talking about things that we can do kind of upfront, being proactive. And now it's what do we do when things are actually occurring? So like we said before, cybersecurity is just dealing securely online. We want to make sure that our data is not accessible to others. And we want to make sure our devices are working properly and do not have malware. If you do not have some sort of antivirus stuff for your computer, I highly recommend it. The one that I have actually says I could put it on my phone if I wanted, so it would cover both. Because there are things that are completely over my head. I don't understand, but I do trust the company that I'm working with, that they know exactly what they're talking about. So that is going to be my plug for antivirus sort of stuff, because they will also be looking for malware as well. Yes.
Are there good free malware sites? Because you hear about theirs periodically.
Yeah, you do. I don't know. I pay for mine. It's one of those things in life that I feel is worth paying for. Not even that I have a lot of important stuff on my computer, but it makes me feel better knowing that it's running the scans and is popping things up like, I don't know if you want to go to that website. I feel like a long time ago there was some free ones, or free versions. I would do the research. I even know, like, same thing with the passwords, they might have like a basic tier that has some free stuff. And then if you want more services, you might have to end up paying, so, yeah. All right.
Can you put all your passwords on this flash drive?
You can do whatever you want with that flash drive. It's yours. I'm trying to think how you would do that, though.
I'll have to
Word
create a document.
Yeah, you'd have to create a
Document.
document, put that document on there. So, all right, so how do we deal with this sort of stuff? One of the big kind of words to keep in mind when we're dealing with fraud is phishing, with a PH. But it's actually very related to the FISH. Phishing is when you are trying to get somebody's information. You're like, maybe got a little bait out there to see if anyone's gonna take the hook. And we're also gonna talk about social engineering. So, phishing, it's a scam. There's fake emails, fake text messages. They're looking to fish for your information. The websites might look real, might being the operative word. The messages might look real, but there's definitely some other things on there that should make you question what you are seeing. It might even look like it's a government agency, but again, we're gonna obviously look for the block and the S, but there's some other things that we can do as well. A fake email can be used to infect your computer with malicious software, malware, or a virus as soon as you open the email. So malware is a tool that fraudsters use to take, and it takes many shapes. It can lead to viruses that infect your computer or spyware that tracks your online activities. Sorry to be a Debbie Downer. It's not fun to talk about this sort of thing, but it is the reality. Social engineering is another common type of scam, and it's kind of a new name for like the con artist trick. They try to gain your trust by convincing you there's someone that they are not in order to get personal information from you. For example, a person might claim to be a friend or a family member in trouble, possibly a Nigerian prince that needs your money. Might be claiming to work on behalf of a government agency or an organization or collection agency. They might email you, phone you, text you, social media. I know my parents are at the point where if somebody calls, even if the number says UW Health, they don't answer. It's like if it's important enough, they're going to leave a message because it could be somebody pretending to be UW Health. All right, so, all right. Have any of you experienced fraud or scam?
I just
Come
recently
on.
signed up for a recipe website and I was getting things like, I've seen your picture and black. Yeah.
So well done, recognizing right away that something seemed fishy.
I had somebody from Social Security to ask if I just got my new plastic card, and I said, and you're asking me? I think you need a real job.
Anybody else?
I received texts from UPS that said
Yes.
that you have a package on the verified
Or the
address.
post office too. Yeah. So again, they're posing as real, entities. Yeah.
I really was thrown off. I have a few friends on Facebook. I never hardly ever post anything myself. But then I get these, I think it's on Messenger. Somebody's pretending to be one of my friends on Facebook.
Yep.
And I can tell because my friend wouldn't say what they're saying.
Yep.
Would an antivirus stop that?
I would say that is what's called they're phishing. They're looking to see if you'll take the bait, maybe start being friends with them. Then they're probably going to ask you some follow-up questions like, man, I just broke my leg and I can't pay for this. Can you help me out? And if you think it's your friend, you might be willing to send them some
I'm
money.
sending you the phone number.
So I mean, those first conversations, while they might seem innocent, that's their way that they're trying to hook you.
If I don't have antivirus on my phone, would that eliminate that stuff?
No, that's a Facebook Messenger thing, unfortunately. Yeah. All right, so we got to think of ways to be safe. So if you get a phone call or an email or a text or something on social media, here are some tips to tell yourself, okay, is this legit? So if you actually heard of the person or organization, that in and of itself is not enough. Can you tell who the email message is from? Does the email have mistakes in it? Are they asking for your information or to verify something? Are they trying to rush you into action? Oh, this, you gotta have this done like by the end of the week or the end of the day. Or is it the opposite where, I've got $750 gift card for you, but you have to do it by now. So is it too good to be true? So when you think about these just individually, they don't seem all that, different, but when you put them all together and you're using those over and over when you look at messages, then you start to recognize some patterns. Okay, so we're going to go to a website, AT&T, because they are one of the sponsors for this. So I'm just gonna head here, okay? So, does this look familiar to you? Have you heard of AT&T before? Yeah. We already know that the lock is there and it's HTTPS, so we know that that's legit. So eventually we should know that this is good to go. I'm just gonna look here. Okay. I don't know why else they wanted us to see that website really. Made no sense to me. Okay. So now we're gonna take a look at an email. All right, and I want you to look at it carefully, starting with the email address and the email itself. Okay. So I've gotten emails like this even here at work. Okay, your PayPal account has been temporarily restricted. You got to take some action. You need to log in, and this is a button for us to push. Okay. So looking at that, can you first of all tell me who this email is from? No, there's no name, it just says accounts, but then look at that email address. Like, it's just all garbage. It's all garbage. So it's good, even though you might recognize PayPal, make sure you're looking at the email address attached, because if it's just garbage, then we know right away this is spam. What else is wrong with this email? There's some spelling errors, multiple spelling errors. Here we've got a C that's missing. There was something else I had seen somewhere. Right here, we've got a U and a single. And I would hope if PayPal actually has an issue, there should not be these sort of spelling errors, multiple spelling errors. Okay. Anything else?
They act like it's urgent, you need to.
Yeah. There's something for us to click on in order to do that.
They want you to confirm your identity.
Yes. Yep, so these are all kind of signs that something is not right. And this is a sign of a phishing scam. If you're lucky, your email might automatically put this into your junk folder, but not always. And I know some email sites allow you to report it and report it as phishing without actually opening the email. So I would recommend that. So they're asking for our information. They want us to click on something. We notice that the email is wrong. I mean, there's so many things.
The login to PayPal shouldn't in no space between TO.
Correct. So there's also some grammar kind of things going on, not only with spelling restrictions. The word suspicious is misspelled, account is misspelled multiple ways. It says, where's it? Please confirming, provide the documents for your family. That's not even a sentence. So there's some legit things to be nervous about. Here's another one. So this is something called the Cash App, which I don't have. Same thing. If you look at the email address, this doesn't even show that it's the Cash App. And this time it's, hey, we want to give you some money. But again, let's confirm, and we need to do it now, ASAP. It's expiring soon. So there's like that sense of urgency where if you don't, you're not going to get the money, which you're not, even if you click on it.
Too good to be true.
Yes. Yep. Okay. It's too good to be true, just what you said. All right, so activity 3 is on the back of the packet. All right, I want you to find 4 things in this email that are like, yep, this is definitely a scam. 4 things. All right, what are some things? It's okay if you don't find them all. We're going to talk about all of them, so then you'll know. Yeah.
The addresses doesn't have anything to do with any policy.
Exactly. There's nothing to do with that pharmacy. I mean, it doesn't even look like it's anything to do with the English language. So the email address.
The typo, the account update on.
Yeah, we got a couple different issues going on here. Let's see. Where was that? Accounts coming in from helpability of account. I'm pretty sure that's not right. So the pharmacy suspends the account service.
An extra space and
Yes.
for payment.
There's
and-
multiple spots where there's extra space. Yep.
Nowhere does it say your name.
You're right. Nowhere does it say who you are. And
It says unusual suspicious activity.
yes. And it has something for you to click on. It wants you to click on that pharmacy account PDF.
Asking for debit card and
Yep.
payment information.
Yep. So you found all the things, all right? Grammar, things to click on, weird spaces, email, you're not even being addressed. All right? So what can you do to help you? Don't give out personal information. Don't reply to or engage with the fraudster. I have an uncle who loves to talk to people on the phone if they're calling to try to sell something. Probably not the best way to do it because then they'll know you'll answer and they will try again. Don't click on any links or buttons. Don't download any files or attachments. Be skeptical. It seems sad that you have to be skeptical, but the opposite is not going to do you any good. Read emails carefully and look up information on your own. If you had gotten that email from the pharmacy, you should contact your pharmacy directly. And then they would be able to tell you yes or no, whether that was correct. Right? So again, don't give out any personal information.
So that's the same as phishing.
Correct, yeah. I would say the other one is almost more targeted, where like maybe somebody calls a company and is like, hey, I used to, work here, or I'm Beth and I used to be there and I forgot some. Like they'll have a really convoluted backstory. They might try calling more than once. I would say for the everyday person, phishing is the more way that it happens. Don't engage. That's kind of the biggest thing. Don't click any of the links. Don't even open it. Don't download anything because you don't know what's in it. Be skeptical. Read carefully. Look up information on your own. All right. And I think we're going to that one. Okay. Enough about that. All right, last thing. I've just got a couple quickies. Which of these passwords would be most secure? Cows help make cheese. Yep. Password never. Maple Street, I'm guessing that's the row they live on. And ASBFGH, the middle row of the keyboard. All right. What's the best option of these three to remember your password? The first one, notebook stored in a safe place. Yeah. What are three things that indicate this is a scam? You can just say it out. You don't have to raise your hand.
Well, there's no pharmacy called the pharmacy.
Yep, from the pharmacy. Doesn't say, it just says pharmacy. Yeah. Card holder. It's got something for you to click on. And there's actually, you can't even see an email address here. But even if you read that, it's funny.
Pharmacy, comma, you.
Yeah, yep. So there's errors. All right. How about this one? What are three things that show that this is a scam? I don't know, I'd be flattered if I got this kind of email, I guess.
Adorable, ma'am.
Preceded?
Yep, preceded, that's not right.
Adorable.
Yep, I mean, even if you are.
Service.
Yep.
Ends on 2 years later.
And it says, we are here, wrong here for you. Yeah, so again, there are definitely some things that you should, make you think about that. All right, so you receive an email telling you you won a prize, you think it's spam. What do you think you should do of these four? There's only one.
The last one.
Last one, put it in your spam folder or ignore it, all right? Clicking unsubscribe means you're engaging with that person. And you might actually get them again. I know, I learned something new when I was reading, because I always did the unsubscribe. So now I just ignore. And the reason why they said again is if you engage, even in unsubscribe, they know you're a legit person, so then they'll just keep going back. That's okay. Eventually your spam folder does get deleted, like it should automatically.
So you just put that in to the spam folder
Yep.
right away?
Yep. Yep. Okay. Do you have any questions that I may or may not know? Yes, Jan?
As far as automatic updates for like iOS on iPhone, and Windows on computers. I've been doing a lot of that manually. Is it safe to just do automatic updates?
That's a great question. So she said, hey, when your computer has those automatic software updates, is it okay to do the automatic one or do it manually? She mentioned it manually. That is a great question. What I have noticed is when a new system rolls out, so I have a map book, almost always that first one has a whole bunch of problems. I'm still dealing with some of those problems for the last time I updated. They do say maybe wait until the next one where the updates happen, and it could be a couple weeks, it could be a month. Then any of those little problems should be fixed. On my phone, I have it automatically update. I don't have an iPhone though, I have an Android. And I've never had issues with it automatically updating that way. You would hope that our software companies are making the best product for the first time when it's rolled out for updates, but it doesn't always happen. So I would say it should be okay, but it's kind of, it's up to you. It's okay to do it manually as well. I think I've learned my lesson for the Apple software to at least wait until like 10.1 comes out or 10.2 before updating it. So,
I downloaded an update. It was several months. And I got all the information from my old computer, including my, Frontier and all that stuff into this. So I'm trying to delete. It's hard to delete that.
It is.
So,
It is.
I have a question. I had mine updated to 10.1 and I had a book written on 8, whatever. And they said they can't retrieve it once it's updated. Is that for real?
What kind of computer is it?
It's a HP.
And so you had a book on it, you
I
said?
had a book written and I was ready to edit and I took it in to have it updated by Apple and now they said they can't get it.
That's a question beyond what I know. I do know that at some point with certain things are so old that when updates happen, bad things happen. It happened with my mom's Kindle. She lost a bunch of things because programs.
It took me 15 years to write.
I would think there would be some way for them
I was
to
thinking about
restore
calling the
back.
police department and see if they couldn't somehow. Well, they collect data from years and years ago. They should be able to.
True. I would also think that there should be a way to restore your previous way for them to at least be able to get that off your computer so you can put it on something else.
I'll take it back to the Alice.
Okay. All right.
I have one more question for
Yeah.
everybody. Have you ever heard of Temu?
Yes.
It's supposed to take over,
What?
it's supposed to take over.
Temu, Temu. It's an app that's really popular right now.
Super over Amazon, and I'm wondering if anybody's.
I've heard bad things about
Me
it.
too.
Yes, like selling your data like crazy.
Okay.
So I don't use it. And I tell other people not to use it either. All right, before you go, we do have some door prizes. So I do have your list with your name and a number next to
You're not
it.
gonna sell that now, are you?
I don't. Right, so the first one is the grand prize, and we have an external portable hard drive. We've got RFID sleeves for your credit cards and passports. We have UB keys. So, the multi-factor authentication thing. You can use these instead of having your phone get updates. And then if you've ever used a USB port in public, these are data blockers. So what you do is you plug this into the USB port first and then plug in your device, just to keep your device safe so that there wasn't any bad actor who did something to that USB port that could put something on your phone.
You say you have 15 of those?
No, I don't have.
Can you review what the green cards were?
Yes. So these are called UB keys, and they are like a multi-factor authentication sort of thing. If you get this prize, I'll work with you on figuring out how it works. I got this from a professor. A professor that I have, she highly recommended this, so I was like, well, I trust her. So the person who gets this is not here. So we're gonna do another one. Not here. Mary Mink. Wow.
Nice.
All right.
Yes.
So the next is some gift cards, and you will have a choice between an Apple gift card or a Google Play gift card. Right. Oh, she left. Let's see. We're here. Me. Me. Maybe. Between those two.
So do you have an Android or an iPhone?
I use it, but I don't use any of those.
Okay. Well, then you can have this instead.
Thank
And
you.
then your husband, got the other, is the next person. on my list.
No, probably use that.
Are you sure?
That's what I think.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right, Judy. Judy.
There's others.
Well, we've got,
What do you want?
everyone will be leaving this out. Rebecca. Did she leave? Rebecca McDermott?
Maybe she'll say they did it.
Okay. D. All right. Better make sure I got these on here.
What do you do with those?
So, if you have an Android, probably this is where you would like buy apps or I don't know, what do you use, Google Play?
Same thing for the Apple version.
Yeah.
It's games, music, I would say are the big
Do
one,
you have
other
an
apps.
Android or a smartphone? Okay, then you can use that for music or.
I can help you with it if you want at some point.
Okay.
Sue. I don't use either one. There. There, not there. We got Judy, right?
Yeah.
That's when I was like, I knew there was somebody I forgot. Fred. Okay, there you go. And Barbara. Is there just one Barbara? There is just one Barbara.
No, there were
No,
two
there's
Barbaras.
two, sorry. Barbara V.
Two V's.
Oh, Barbara Volker.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's her.
Yeah. What are the chances?
Do you want Apple or Google?
Google.
And that's okay because the other Barbara's name just got picked as well, so we're good there. Okay. Candy. We can do one more pass through with that.
Yeah, okay, not right here.
And then we've got some wall chargers, because you could always use wall chargers. So if you did not get your name called, I think, how many, let's see, because we had some people leave, yes. If you want to take some around, I will take some around. Yes, so please, if you didn't get something, raise your hand so that we can come and give you something. I'll give it a try. You're welcome. Anybody else? All right, are there any final questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you very much and Merry Christmas.
You're welcome, thank you. If you can fill out this survey, I would be much, very happy about it. You can just leave it at your table and I will take care of it.
And there's one thing about that click I had a question about.
Yeah.
When they say to click on it, you should not click on it.
So what you'll usually see now with emails is instead of having to click on it, there should be a box on one of the sides, either before or after, and you can just click in the box. an immediate, I mean, the thing is,
Most of them I
you
know.
can kind of
but I
guess
don't wanna
based
be
on the
advertising.
email address, like, oh, this doesn't look
Or
good.
something.
You're welcome, thank you so much. So,
This is short for me. It likes to go a lot of them. I think I'm worse.
yes, you can. I will help you as much as I can.
You know, I say no.
That is true, or I don't.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But the whole world is changing.
Yes.
It seems like you can't do anything without it. True. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, please do, please do. It's a wall check.
Some of that stuff.
For any of your devices.
To other people. Well, no, but thank you.
You're welcome, thank you for coming.
Your sister and so her, one of her other Facebook people shared it. It was spread around, so nothing works. I mean, so if you want, there's a good microphone. I know a lady there.
Plug it into the wall, and then if you have anything, you can ask me, or you can look.
I said, just give me a call because it's quicker.
Yes, and I do things, right? I would do a lot of research to find out which ones are supposed to be good for, and faster. For your device, it should be able to charge lots of different devices, not just Android, or just.
She never called me. I mean, she didn't use the phone, she texts me.
I don't know what kind of phone my daughter has. So I don't know, like, which one's is the Google or the?
So I'll tell you this,
I can see, so I can get the right one. What does Google play?
so for example, I have an
Yes, I
Android.
know. I'm away on my computer.
So any apps that are on my phone are from the Google Play. Like it comes with that. And if I ever wanted to download and download it, then that costs money. So I have to set that up. If I wanted to purchase if I have an app that's free, but maybe I can buy an iPhone app, iPhone says cut. And then the same thing goes for Apple. So Apple does the same thing. I'm ready.
Is an iPhone and Apple?
Yes.
Alright. If not, I'll bring it.
Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much. You're welcome. I appreciate all the information. And the goodie. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. My son provides security for a
Yeah, sometimes.
and he talks. So it's like, oh, that's. Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
I almost, it's like, but the unsubscribe, I do it all the time. I do it all the time, and I didn't know that.
I didn't either until I was looking through this and I was like, oh, I would not have thought that. But it makes sense because then they know you clicked on it and
Well-
so I'm like, oh, let's keep, yeah. I know, it's so
I
frustrating.
know, I mean, I don't even have social media. Never have, so it's like,
I used to.
there is a telephone. And I have a friend that texts me, and we could do it for like an hour, and she, back and forth. I said, please give me a call, so, she never. Well,
No, so feel free, like, let's wait until the new year, but come in and I can help you with your stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, take
All right,
care, thank you
thanks.
so much,
you're
you're
welcome.
good.
Oh, thank you.
I just